Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Hey, how's everybody out there? Let me check with my executive producer, Mandisa Karasi. Let me know if you can hear me out there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our very first episode of Enchanted Expressions Beyond the Conversation. Let me know that you're out there. Peace, everyone. Peace. Bendiciones. You know how my greeting is, beloveds. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Yes, I'm really excited this evening. Welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate you. So bendiciones, familia, blessings, family. I am Tanya Yemaya Nirka, simply stated, Nirka, and I love the enchanted life. So welcome to our very first episode of 2021 for Enchanted Expressions Beyond the Conversation, where we bring you more than just talk. I am broadcasting live from the Enchanted Life Broadcasting Network, where we are streaming to multiple platforms, including YouTube Live on my Tanya Inspires channel. I need to give a big shout out to part of my Enchanted Life Communications broadcasting team today. My sister queen, Mandisa Karasi, is producing this first episode. Thank you, my queen. Spirit just laid on me at the last minute. Who's going to produce this? Sent her a message and boom, she was right there to help us through getting through. So I invite you to make sure that you go ahead and click on where it says to give StreamYard permission, so we can see your name. So we can see your name come up on the screen. So you need to go back up there and make sure that you give permission. All right. Otherwise, you're going to be a Facebook user. We need to know who you are. So let us know where you are and where you're joining us from. And so I just want to say thank you. I want to give thanks to God and our elevated and benevolent ancestors, to the Enchanted Life Community Collective. And you see that our logo is right up here. Let me use the right finger to point it out. And we welcome you today. I am really excited about today's broadcast, and I am going to just go ahead and bring up our first guest for the season, our very own, yes, Conjure Ifakunle. Did I say that right?
You said it perfectly.
I'm learning. Thank you.
Yes.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Yes. All right. Kim
Sorry
Renee,
about.
shout out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. This is really a great opportunity. Ever so grateful to have you, my dear
Yes.
brother Conjure.
So
Um,
grateful to be here.
yes.
Mhm.
And we're going to take this opportunity to share with our collective a little bit about you officially. And
Yes.
then you and I are just going to, open up and tell your story because that is what
Yes.
we are here for today.
Yes.
So, and I think this is wonderful that you get an opportunity to really begin to know and understand our teacher, our
Yes.
sage, our
Yes.
leader, our guide,
Yes.
Conjure
Mm.
Ifakunle. Ifakunle.
Kunle. Yes.
Kunle. All
Which
right,
means the
always
family.
learning.
Like that name means the family. Like that's my spirit, the spirit of family. Yes.
Yes, thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you. All right, so a little bit about our conjure Ifakunle.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna get it. Conjure Ifakunle has lived his life practices. In 2001, he began studying metaphysics
Yes.
and spirituality.
Mm.
In 2007, he was diagnosed with a disease
Yes.
the doctors deemed terminal. In the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, he followed the doctor's instructions and recommended treatments, which left him
Yes.
feeling worse than the
Yes.
symptoms of the disease.
Okay.
That's happening so much. In 2009, he made the decision to go with natural medicine and
Yes.
was going to, he felt like that was going to assist him in restoring his health. And
Yes.
he transitioned into living a holistic
Mm.
lifestyle. With the support of his wife, Oshuntola,
Yes.
Conjure was able to restore his health
Mm.
utilizing forgotten knowledge of our
Mm.
ancestors, which included nutrition, herbology, and
Yes.
all of those ancestral ingredients that we seem to have let fall to the wayside.
Mm.
In 2009, he was initiated in the Indigenous Golden
Wow.
Cosmic
She
Ray
got it
Order of
all.
Melchizedek, the
Yes.
IGCROM, as a high
Yes.
priest.
Yes.
He is a Reiki
Mm.
master's in
How you say?
Usui,
Usui.
Usui,
Yes.
Seichem,
Second.
Seichem,
Yes.
Tibetan, and Kemetic practices.
Yes.
Conjure is mostly known for
Wow.
facilitating holistic health,
Mm.
cultural intimacy, and spiritual
Mm.
seminars and retreats over the
Yes.
last 10 years.
Yes.
With all the knowledge he accumulated over the years, he and his wife co created an innovative evolutionary
Yes.
healing system using indigenous healing modalities called the Etheric Touch.
Mm.
The Etheric Touch is offered as a service
Wow.
to clients and guides students internationally. He has been called an enigma and a
Mm.
mystery to the medical system as
Wow.
he restored his health naturally.
Yes.
He shares the information and life experience he
Mm.
has gained with others generously and effortlessly.
Wow.
Yes, and
Wow. You
so
have
we
done your
welcome.
research.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
little birdie
Yes.
told me.
A little birdie. I think I know who that birdie is too.
Yes, just a little bit about you. So,
Yes.
again, we welcome you, dear brother. And I couldn't agree more with the statement that you are sharing what you know and
Hmm.
what you have experienced generously and
Yes.
effortlessly. So I'm going to ask you to
Okay.
start with your story.
All right.
Uh, Tell us about you and
Okay.
how you got here for
Thank
us.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My story literally begins with me being a star in the sky. A
Mm,
star in the sky. Me remembering that as perfectly as right now. Like it's happening right now, like remembering me being a star in the sky. Like that's my first awareness of life, is being a star in the heavens. And then all of a sudden I remember just beginning to descend towards the earth, and I was conscious only of myself being pure consciousness. And so
mm,
I'm journeying towards the earth, and I'm aware that I'm going down all the way till I get to the home that my family was living in. And this body was already 4 years old. I remember coming down through the roof of the home, entering into this body, stopping in mid stride because the body was walking through the living room. I entered into the body. I stopped in mid stride and thought, I'm here. And that's
ooh,
my very first remembrance of being on earth. And I know that I was 4 years old because later on that day, it was my birthday. And my father called me and he asked me how old I was. And I remember telling him, I'm 4 years old, Dad. You know what I mean? So that's how I remember the age that this happened at. Like when I entered into this being on this earth. That's how I remember the age of that. And so ever since then, and my mother, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I got an echo over here with Ocean Taylor. But my life has been one complete journey of understanding that experience that I had, that remembrance that I had of myself being a star. And if my mother was here and so many other my family members, they could vouch what I'm saying, because like this was one of my main things that I would tell them. Like, Mom, I remember being a star in the sky. I'm telling everybody, but I'm not, nobody's really believing me. But this is my experience. This is my truth. Like this is what I know of myself in this moment right now. And so my life since that moment has been one constant journey of understanding who I am. Like is it has never been a break in my journey. It has been one constant journey of seeking to understand who I am. And of course, born in a Christian family, that led me into the church early. I remember my mom and my father used to think something was wrong with me, because even at a young age, 4 or 5 years old, I used to be always off to myself, like in deep thought, of because of this memory that I had of my experience of coming here and remembering being a star in the sky, and that whole journey of entering into this body. It put me like in a very curious place about myself early. And so I will always spend a lot of time alone, to the point that my mother and father thought something probably was wrong with me, but it wasn't anything wrong with me. And so my whole life has been a journey of understanding like myself. Like I would be the one that when the other cousins and everything off playing, like I'm in the house reading the Bible or something like that. And you know what I mean? And everyone looking at me like, why is you reading the Bible? But it was literally this calling that was on the inside of me that, I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't ignore it. So it just had me like in this place of constantly seeking the answer to it. And like I said,
mhm,
grew up in the church. My father was a pastor, grew up in the church. And as I got older, like I was the one that would always get kicked out of Bible study and things like that because of the questions that I would have, like for whoever was teaching the lessons.
mm,
Because I was studying the Bible so much to really get an understanding of like what was going on, like the fact that I remember being this star coming to this earth, like what's the truth about life? Like that has always been my driving force here is what is the truth about this life that we are experiencing here. And so it took me in the church, and I elevated very quickly in the church as I got older on this constant journey of seeking to understand what the truth of all of this was as I'm getting older. So I'm growing older in the church, and I'm studying the Bible to try to understand the character of Jesus and just the story that he was conveying about, you know, our experience here on earth. And in church, like, they wanted me to be the youth pastor, grooming me to be a minister. Like that was my life on my journey. But we all know, like, whenever you are seeking, it's an old African saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the spirit that I had and the way that I was seeking, I couldn't find the answers to the question that I had in church as it relate to me remembering being a star in the sky. Like I couldn't find the answer in the church. But the universe, the great spirit, brought other people and other beings into my life that could give me a better understanding of my experience. So my journey took me beyond the church. It took me
Mm-hmm.
beyond the church. It took me into a very metaphysical, perception of reality. And so I began to delve in the metaphysics, and teachers will come into my life to assist me on my journey, because this has been one constant journey to this very moment for me of trying to understand who I am on this earth. And so, like I say, that led me away from church, and it put me into more of a metaphysical, cultural journey. It took me in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And on that journey, and I'm so thankful, you know what I mean, for this shift in my journey, because on this journey is where I met my wife, Oshun Tola, on this this elevated journey that I was on, seeking the answers to myself, who I am myself. Like, and this is why I can tell everybody that's on this call, we are all stars on earth. We are
Mm.
all stars here. Whenever we look up into the heavens and we see these stars gleaming and shining above the earth, these are souls that's overlooking the drama, the movie that's going on earth. In different moments, these souls come down and play particular roles within the story of life here on earth. And I can vouch for this. Like, I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt because of my experience of remembering being that star in the
Mm-hmm.
heavens, and remembering coming here and joining in with the body. So as I began to learn more of our ancestral stories, and our ancestral stories, they would tell stories of us being star beings that came to the earth, and that heaven is our home, and and the earth is our marketplace, but our souls originate in the stars above. Like, this is what resonated with me more deeply than anything that I have ever learned before, because of the experience that I had myself of remembering being a star in the sky. So when I started reading and gathering this information, like, this is what hit me as fact. Like, this is what entered into my soul. This is what was able to enter into my spirit as it relates to truth, because of this experience that I have for myself, that I would tell others. But who's really going to believe that? Like, who's really going to believe that? And so, because of that experience, like I say, it took me beyond Christianity, and it got me on a metaphysical journey, a more cultural journey, which on that journey is where I met Oshun Tola. Now, right before, and if I'm just going too quick, you can intercept anytime you want to.
No interceptions here.
Okay. And so, on that journey, out of nowhere, I was diagnosed with a disease called aplastic anemia, and it's a disease to where the bone marrow doesn't produce red blood cells like it should. Like, it's an anemia, but it's the most severe kind of anemia you can have. And so, like, whenever I came into the knowledge that I was dealing with this, because I started feeling bad, feeling tired, like, you can imagine how it feels to not have the blood in your body that you're supposed to have. Heart races, headaches. So when I started having these symptoms, that's what led me to go get checked out to see what was going on. And then that's when the diagnosis came back of the aplastic anemia. Like, and this was out of nowhere. Like, it shook my world. Like, I was thinking I was getting ready to die, you know, out of nowhere. And so I get diagnosed with this, and then, you know, they set me up for a treatment for it. I was a patient at the University of Chapel Hill, and I remember when I got there and they examined me, the doctors told me that this was the worst case of aplastic anemia that they have ever had at Chapel Hill. Like, that's how bad it was for me. Like, they hadn't ever seen a case that was worse than the one that I had. And so, of course, I'm afraid. So, and I don't know the things that I'm aware of now. And so when they came with the treatment, I went with it because I just didn't want to die. I just didn't want to die. And so I went through that treatment. I had to go through chemotherapy. I had a surgery. Every day I had to wake up and take like 20 different kinds of medicines. Now you imagine like all of these different medicines having these different kind of side effects, and you having to take them all at once, like how that can make you feel, you know, all of these different side effects. And so that was misery, like so much of a misery to the point that I can't hardly take anything, like far as it's hard for me to take like supplements or just anything now because of how that was traumatic for me, like taking that many pills at one time. It was very traumatic. And so I went through the chemotherapy, like their whole procedure that they had laid out for me at Chapel Hill, and I completed that. But after that was completed, as time passed, they realized that their treatment didn't work. Their treatment didn't work. Okay. Now, but by this time, I had already met Oshuntola. And so we were together. And I remember one day we were at home and Chapel Hill called me and there was like, the treatment didn't work. So we need you to come back in and go through the treatment again. So they wanted me to come back and go through that treatment again. And this treatment was a hell for me. It was misery. It was pain. It was like suffering pretty much, even though it was to help me, but it brought so much misery into my life. And so by me having that memory of what I had just came out of and been through the first time, like I'm not ready to go back in there and go through that for a second time. And so me and Oshuntola, we sat and talked, and I made my mind up. I'm like, I'm not going back through that treatment again. Like I'm getting ready to put my trust in spirit. I'm getting ready to put my trust in, an alternative way to seek this healing. And so we made our mind up about that. And the beautiful thing about that is that whenever we made our minds up about that, Oshuntola, she went to college to get her degree in alternative medicine because she wanted to, be in the best position to help me as she could be. So that's what led her to even go get her degree. Like she has a bachelor's degree in alternative medicine. And that's what inspired her to go and do that. Now, the aplastic anemia is still on the move. It's still on the move. You know what I mean? It's not taking a break, like it's coming to take my life. And this is what the doctors are telling me. They are telling me that, if you don't come back and go through this treatment again, then you're probably gonna only live 18 months. And so they put the 18 months on me, and then they reduced that down to 6 months. Like you're only going to live for 6 months if you don't come back and go through this treatment again. And the spirit that I had in me, and the reason why this spirit is there is because I'm pulling from that memory that I have of myself being a star in the sky. I'm pulling from that. And so like this energy is filling me. Like when everyone is thinking I'm getting ready to die, my parents thinking I'm crazy. Of course, my mother and my father, they don't want to lose me. So they pressuring me to go through what the doctor was saying. My family, like I'm receiving a lot of pressure from that. But it was just a knowing that I had inside of me that was directly linked to me remembering being this star in the sky, coming to this earth, entering into this body. I knew it was more to me than what was meeting the eye. And this is when that energy began to rise up in me. And I remember telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, Dad, like I know y'all think that I'm crazy right now by not going through, the steps that Chapel Hill wants me to go through again. But I'm telling you, like, I'm not getting ready to die. Like, this is what I know within myself, is that I'm not getting ready to die. And I might can't put it in the words for you, like, it, you know, like that could make sense to you. And so I continue on, like me and Oshun Tolo, we continue on. And this is when I began to get more deeply and more heavily into my meditative practices, learning more about the ancestors, learning more about how to eat right, learning about the Reiki energy, like how we can heal ourselves. Like, this is when that journey really took off in my life, because now it was like my life was placed into my own hands. And
Yes.
so whether I was going to live or die was going to be dependent on what I do now. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I understood about being well and getting healthy and how to assist my body in healing. Like, it's in our plate now. And so we go on this journey. Like, and we're still on this journey right now, me and Oshun Tolo. But remember, in 2009, they gave me 18 months to live. Like, it's 2021 now.
Yes.
It's 2021 now, and I'm still here. I'm still here. And so the aplastic anemia, when was it? Last year, it began to rear its head again. 2019, it began to rear its head again. Like, the symptoms started returning. I have been symptom free for 10 years, and the symptoms started to return last year. And so, but this is what I understand now about the reason why, you know, this dis-ease returned into my life, because I had to face this thing again to truly eradicate it out of my body and out
Mm.
of my life, from the awareness of myself that I have at this moment. And so it started rearing its head again back in 2019. And I found myself back in Chapel Hill again, because my levels had dropped so low. And so once again, the same doctors are coming with the same plan for me that I did all of those years ago. They wanted me to still go back through that treatment. But one thing about this experience right here, this time when I went back to Chapel Hill, all of the doctors was looking at me like I was a ghost or something, like I wasn't supposed to be here, because I made the decision to walk away from them. And they telling me if I did that, then that was like signing my death certificate. So when I walked back in there again, the first thing that they had to, understand is that I was still alive. Like, they had to get past that first. Like, you still living, like you still alive. And even though my blood level had dropped to such a low point within my body, like, it wasn't affecting me like in the way that they felt like it should have been affecting me. Like, they thought that when I came to Chapel Hill that I should have been heading into ICU to be in intensive care, like barely conscious, holding on to my life. But when I went there, like, I walked in there, I was myself. Like, I wasn't showing any of the symptoms that they was preparing for me to be showing. And the reason why that is important, I know for myself, is because when I realized that this disease was returning again, that energy started to awaken back in me again. Like, that star energy that I know now that's inside of me began to awaken in me again. So when they thinking I'm supposed to be in the looking like I'm almost dead, I'm in there vibrant. I'm in there vibrant. Like, I'm having the symptoms. My blood is low, but I'm vibrant. I'm still active. I'm walking. I'm talking. And they are blown away. Then I'm able to walk and talk and be in, that kind of state, even though my blood levels was so low. But I was pulling from this energy, this knowing that I have inside of myself, of remembering being that star in the sky, that was keeping me alive. It wasn't the fact that my blood was what it's supposed to be and I'm alive. My blood was almost non-existent within my body, and I'm still alive because now I'm pulling from that energy, that remembrance of being a star in the sky. And the doctors are looking at me like I'm a ghost in there. Like, how was he walking? How was he talking? Like, how was he not on the ventilators, or in ICU right now? Like, they used to come in there and just watch me. Come in there, doctors coming in there back to back to just watch me, and to, I guess, just to see that, okay, like, this young man is really acting in this kind of way, and he's still able to do all of these things. But we looking at his chart and we see the levels that his blood, like that his blood is at. And so they will begin to call doctors all over the world to try to get an understanding of how this was possible. And so it got to a point that the doctors in Chapel Hill, they didn't like me. They didn't like me. Like, and I could tell that they didn't like me because they was trying to force me to take a treatment that I kept denying to take. And I'm denying to take this treatment, but they are telling me if I don't take the treatment, then I'm gonna die. But then they're trying to figure out how I'm not dying by not taking the treatment. And so it was frustrating a lot of them, a lot of the doctors. And so they began to have attitudes towards me, to the point that me and Oshun Tola had to prepare ourselves before we went to an appointment, because we didn't know what they would do, because they had that kind of energy about me, because now they want to study me now. They want to study me, like, how is this man still able to walk, talk, do anything that he would normally do, but we are looking at his blood level, and that shouldn't be possible. And so now they want to study me and take me through all of these extra treatments now beyond what they initially said. Now they adding stuff onto it now. And so I'm realizing that they trying to turn me into like a guinea pig in the hospital, because they're trying to understand how was this possible. But it was no way for them to know how it was truly possible. But I know how it was, how this is truly possible, from that remembrance of myself as being a star. And that was the energy that was animating my being and keeping me alive when physically and medically they felt like I shouldn't have been. But this has been the kind of experiences that I have been having all through my life. Like, my life has been a very enchanted life since the beginning, the very moment that I set foot on this planet. My journey of coming here for being a star, my journey in life has been one enchanted journey to this very moment. To this very moment. And so yes.
So let me tell you what I hear. What's a living miracle, okay? And I have heard the story before, more than once, but every time I hear it, it is such an amazing story. Yeah. And so if we follow the journey of that star, okay, yes. And this is what's happening, I believe, in our community, is that we come in and we get rooted in religion, which is very different than spirituality.
Yes.
And then we are trying or encouraged or forced
yes.
to, participate and to believe in one particular way. And yes. What I hear you saying is that every time you reconnected with where you came from.
Yes, exactly. It empowered me.
Yes.
It empowered me, like, it empowered me in a way that it was like, I ain't gonna say it was like, to where I was able to do the impossible. Yes. Like, I'm supposed to be, according to some of the best doctors in the world right now, I'm supposed to be in the ground. They don't understand why I'm not in the ground. They don't understand that. But I understand that, because yes. I know, like, and this is why it's very important, and we always teach our students is that, like, no one can tell you that your experience is not the truth. This is my truth. Like, this is truly my experience of that memory of being that star and coming here. And Miss Tanya, you're right. Like, it's not about the religion. It's about the spirit behind the religion. And when you're able to tap into the spirit beyond the religion, this is when you tap into the power. And this experience has enabled me to tap into the power beyond the religion. And that's what has sustained my life to this very moment, is the power. And this is what would overtake me. Like, this is what I will begin to feel in my body in those moments where my physical body was in some form of a crisis. But this is what I will begin to fill my body up. And Ocean Tola tell you, like, they would come in there, like in my into my room. I remember one doctor came in there and he told me, he was like, what did he say? He was like, I ain't never heard of anything like this. Like, I have never heard of anything like this. Like, the doctor told me that because of my condition, like me still being able to do anything that I can do in this moment right now. But when they looking at my chart, it's saying something completely different. They looking at the chart saying this can't be possible. Like, how is he still, you know, walking and talking and, you know, eating and just watching TV, like all of these things I was doing when they was preparing for me to be in ICU, to be on ventilators and, you know, fighting for my life, trying to keep me from having a stroke or trying to keep me from having a heart attack. I'm in my room flipping through the TV, eating, sitting in the chair, letting Oshun Tola sleep in the bed. I don't need that bed. You know what I mean? She over there in the doctor's bed sleep. I'm in the chair flipping through the channels. And so I became, and like I was saying, I became an enigma to them, to the point to where now they want to test me. Like, literally, I know we see it on TV and in the movies, how they begin to, like, okay, something special about that one. Let's get them in this lab and run these tests and poke and prod and see how, like, this is how they looked at me when I walked into the hospital. When I walked in the hospital, it was like all eyes on me. That's how, like, that's what the experience was, like all eyes on me, like he's here or something. And the doctors would come into my room by the droves with their little notepads and asking me all kind of questions, like, yo, like I became like a guinea pig for them. And like I say, it got to the point to where it was like a real confrontation, because they was trying to convince me to go through all of these different treatments and tests they wanted me to go through, and I was refusing to go through it. And so that's where the contention came from them towards me, because I wouldn't go through it. And they wanted me, and you know, they wanted to learn, I guess, how that I'm able to, you know, be in the condition and able to do all the things that I was still able to do, but their chart saying that I shouldn't be able to be able to. And so, but the beautiful thing about that, by me sticking to my guns, by me sticking to the truth of who it is I know that I am, I went to the doctor, like, I think it's probably about a month ago now. When I went there, like, they released me. They released me. They was like, there's no need for you to come here anymore. Most people in situations like that, they fold in because of the fear of a doctor telling you every time you go, you probably gonna die. You probably gonna die. If you don't do this, you probably gonna die. If you don't do this, you ain't gonna be here much longer. Most people fold in to that. But because of that remembrance, because of the truth of who it is that I knew I was able to tap into something that most ain't even aware of, that allowed me to walk this journey that I have been walking and not folding into the fear of death, because I know death is an illusion. I know it's an illusion. I know it's more to me than just like my body, like what you're trying to convince, like if I don't do certain things according to the medical system, then I would die. Like, that never resonated with me. Ocean Tola tell you, like, that never resonated with me, because of that knowing that I have in myself at this moment. Like, we are more than the body. Like, we all have a power that dwells inside of us that nothing can, you know, defeat. Nothing can defeat it. Like, we all have a power that dwells inside of us that nothing can, you know, diminish or destroy. That nothing can destroy. And by me having that memory of myself before I even got to this planet, of being a soul, of being pure consciousness, like by me having that remembrance and me knowing that that's who I truly am as a star on earth, like this is what empowered me to walk this journey and to be successful the way that I have been, to not be dead, to not be in the grave right now, to still be here teaching, living my life to
Mhm.
its fullest. Like, this is very important for everyone to understand, like, as it relates to me, because this has been my driving force all throughout my whole life to this very moment. We are stars on earth. The souls that's in this body are stars from above that come here, inhabit these bodies, and have these experiences. The soul is immortal. The soul is immortal. And this is what I know for a fact, and this is a truth that no one can take away from me, because this was my experience. This is my experience. And the fact that I'm still here right now shows and prove that. It shows and prove that, because I'm still here right now. Beyond, even though with the threat of death, according to the medical system, not folding,
Yes.
depending, like,
Evidence by
being.
life.
Go ahead, Miss Tanya.
I was just saying, yes, evidence by life.
Yes.
Evidence, you're right
Yeah.
here. You are
Yeah.
right here.
I'm right here.
I believe, and I love that, Spirit gave me the name, Enchanted Expressions, beyond the conversation. All right,
Mm-hmm.
beyond the conversation, because that's what we're talking about here. Beyond those
Yeah.
conversations that the doctors, were having and trying to convince you,
Yeah.
of what you
Had
already
to
knew
do.
was not true.
Yes. It was not true. And
It was not true.
yes. And
So
so
how can that story benefit us?
okay.
How can that
Yeah.
benefit us?
Well, the way that this story can benefit us, like, as a collective, is that it allows us to understand that we are this universe.
Hmm.
We are this universe. Like, when we look up at the stars, like, this is when we are seeing who it is we truly are. When we look out in nature, this is when we seeing who it is that we truly are. When we see the ocean, like, just all of this universe, like, this phenomena of this universe, like, this is who we are. It allows us to understand that. And so that really shows us our way back to ourselves, and back to our power, and back to the healings that we are all searching from in our life, because now we understand that our healing can't come from anywhere else. How can it come from anywhere else other than that which we are? But we depend, in most cases, on artificial things that have been created in laboratory, things that are unnatural. But we are natural here. Like, we come with the naturalness of this universe. So anything that we are lacking in our life, we can't receive it anywhere else other than the universe, other than this great mother. Like, and so this is how this can assist us. It can put us back on the right track. It can put us back on the right track towards our healing, or whatever we need, whatever we are missing in ourselves. It can reconnect us to that when we understand who we are. So this is about understanding who it is that we are. And once we have an understanding on who it is that we are, then we can't be tricked by the illusions that lead to suffering and death. But we can take the journey that leads to true healing and awakening, connecting, like true connection, to the authenticness of ourselves. Because we think we are so many other things than who it is we are really. Like, we really are this universe. And so we come from the elements. So what we need is going to come from the elements. What we need is going to come from this universe. And it puts us on that road, on that track, and takes us away from those things that destroy us. The artificial things that we put in our body, the artificial ways that we live our life that destroy people. So it
Yeah.
takes us away from that destruction. And this is how this can benefit us. Like, this is going to give us our life back. It's not going to do anything but benefit us. It's going to make us healthy in every way that we need to be healthy, or healthy in every way that we have been lacking. This is when we're gonna understand the fullness of who it is that we are, versus of all of those things that we have been told over our life that in most cases limit us and put us in boxes. But when you are able to connect to the vastness of this universe and understand this is myself, like this is the truth of who I am, what type of transformation would that take a person through when they're able to make that connection? And what way would that help them when they're able to make that connection back to that which they truly are, versus an illusion? So this can help us become real. Like this can help us become our true selves.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, we can't be tricked by illusions. And
Yeah.
so this is how this can help, Tanya.
Okay. So, for those of us who have begun our journey in reconnecting, uh, very often I find that as I speak to people about my spiritual journey, that they get very confused
Yeah.
because all I'm doing is looking into myself.
Yes.
So, can you help us understand why it is that we need to begin with ourselves first,
Yes.
and move forward from there? How does that
Yes.
work?
Because whenever we truly begin from ourselves, the first thing that we have to do is identify who it is that we are truly. And this is
Mm,
the only path that I can take with this. Like we all know our bodies come from the earth, right? Like even the Bible tells us that. Like our bodies come from the earth. We know that we are 75% water. Like we all know that. You know what I mean? And where does this water come from that makes up 75% of our being? It comes from the earth. We know that we need fresh air, like to live and sustain our life. Like we know that we need sunlight. Matter of fact, our temperature stays at 98.6 degrees, almost 100 degrees of sun,
hmm,
So we can look and we can see the source of the sunlight for this planet. And so when we're able to be honest with ourselves and be authentic, like there's no way that we can deny that we are one with this planet. There's no way that we can deny that we are one with this universe. There's no way that we can deny who it is that we truly are. And anyone that tries to rebuttal that is trying to rebuttal with some form of an illusion, because the truth is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like these things can't be rebuttal. Like this is who we are. And so once we know who that we are, like who we are truly, then we know how to truly move forward as it relates to that oneness that we share with all of creation. So this is why self-care is important, because if we don't understand who it is that we are, like how can we take care of ourselves in the way that we should be taking care of ourselves? Because
mm-hmm,
like that's what the issue is that most of us don't understand how to truly take care of ourselves. If we understood that, we won't be running to the doctors the way that we run to the doctors, being prescribed these pills that have all of these side effects, that and it be the side effects that make things worse for people in most cases, the side effects of it. But if we truly know who we are, then we know that we can't get the healing that we need from a pill. That we know that our self-care and the way that we're going to take care of ourselves is coming from a knowledge of who it is that we are. And now we understand, okay, nature can only heal me, because what I'm missing in my body, I can only replenish that within my
hmm.
body through nature.
Yes.
Because most diseases come from a lack of something that the body needs that can only come from nature. And so through nature, we can replace those things within our body so that the body can truly heal, versus being treated by a medical system that's going to string you along for the rest of your life or until you die, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not healing. You're like the disease is being masked. And so
Yeah.
this is why, go ahead, Miss Tanya.
I say yes. Go ahead.
So this is why self-care starts with understanding who you are first, because when we understand who we are first, we can take care of ourselves. But when we don't understand who it is that we are, then we can be manipulated, and we can be controlled, and we can be our lifespan can be shortened because we
Yeah.
don't understand who it is that we are, because we know that people perish from a lack of knowledge. So what self-care means for me is getting to know who it is that you are. Like, this is what self-care is, because there is no care until you know who it is that you are. And so
Ooh.
our journey of self-care is one of knowledge of self. Like, the more you know of yourself, the greater ways you can take care of yourself. And so this is what the self-care portion of the etheric touch is get to know yourself, get to know yourself as this universe, get to know yourself as the nature around you, because until you understand that, then until we understand that, then we're not going to be able to heal in the ways that we can heal until we understand that. And this is why self-care is so important, to know how to truly take care of yourself by being able to identify first who it is that you are.
So in the steps of self-care, and I do want to say, Queen Karasi had put in the chat, what we look at as weeds on the outside have healing properties. If we look at some of the plants, they're actually shaped for the organ that they were made to heal.
And that's a great point that she made. And I actually, that's one of the things that I became aware of as I began my journey of healing myself naturally, that, like Miss Valerie said, like a lot of times the way that foods or nuts or just different fruits and vegetable shape lets you know what they are good for within the body, you know. And so that's a great point.
Mm-hmm. So the journey of self-care is one of knowing thyself and the nature around you.
Yes, because if we don't know ourselves, then everything after that is an illusion. If you don't know yourself, then everything in your life is an illusion. Because how can anything be real until you become real yourself? Like, how can, life be a real thing when you are in an illusion of who it is you truly are? Like, everything is going to be a reflection of that. And so, yes, that's a great point.
And so we know that, and just personally, I have evidenced the power of looking inside and beginning self-care. But can you share with us some of the modalities or the different ways that you teach about doing self-care? Because it's not a mani-pedi.
No.
It's not self-pampering, as Queen Karasi says all the time.
Yes. Like, one of the things that we teach heavy about in meditation, in self-care, is the meditation, is the internal. And see, we have to understand, and this is what knowledge itself will let us know. Like, the outside world is a reflection of the inside world. Like, what we have going on inside of us is what's going to be giving birth on the outside world. Like, this is the way nature is set up. So you have to plant that thing on the inside, and then it's going to be revealed on the outside. So a person's life is only revealing to them what's going on inside of them. Like, this is how nature is set up to operate. And so the things that are inside of a person that gets the most attention inside of that person, you're going to see that thing show up in a person's life. Like, if a person has anger on the inside of them all the time, you're going to see that anger show up in some kind of action that they take. Or if you got sadness on the inside of yourself, you're going to see that action, that sadness show up in a person's behavior. Like, it cannot be hidden. It's going to be revealed. And so, like, this is what the real healing has to come from first. And then it's going to be revealed outwardly. So a person can truly never have something outwardly that they don't have inside of themselves, like joy. Like, certain things might give you a little bit of joy for a little bit of time, maybe a new thing that you got, maybe a new car, something that gives you a little bit of joy for a little bit of time, but that joy is not yours, because as soon as that thing is gone, then the joy went with it. So that was never your joy. But when we able to, when we know what joy really springs from, like joy comes from a knowledge of self. Like when a person, the more knowledge of yourself that you gain, the more joyful you become. The more knowledge of yourself that you gain, the more joyful you become, because in that journey of knowledge of yourself, you're going to be realizing these, phenomenal things about yourself. Like we are one with the universe. Like how much joy should that put inside of a person? To really understand that we are one with the universe. How should that make you feel? Like why is joy not there as it relates to that? Like why is a person not joyful from this great mystery of being alive, from the sheer fact that we are living and we are able to experience something called life? Like why is that not a joyful thing? So what is joy truly? Joy is from a knowledge of yourself. Like when a person is on that road, that journey of discovering who it is they truly are, this is where that joy comes from. This is where that love comes from. All of those things that we are seeking in the outside world that you can't find until you find it on the inside of yourself, because this is how it works. And so this is once again why self-care is important, because these are the things that we have to find inside of ourselves, because in most cases people are suffering because they're trying to find it outside of themselves, or they're trying to find it within something else. But when you are able to find that inside of you to where no one can take it, and it's real and it's genuine and it's true and it's not an illusion.
Yes.
And it's not an illusion, versus these illusions that people are caught up in, thinking that this is what brings them happiness, or thinking this is what is going to bring them love, when the goal is for us to become love and not seek it, but become it, to find it inside of you. And that's the same thing with joy. So a person's life is always going to be revealing what's in them. Is it confusion inside of you? So it's always the first place that we got to get right, that internal realm, and then give birth to those things that are going on inside of us, because that's the only thing that is happening in this reality. People are giving birth to the things that are inside of them, whether it's chaos, whether it's madness, whether it's sadness, whether it's confusion. People are giving birth to that, but most people are not aware of that power. But what we are aware of, we are aware that we possess that power. And so now we know how we can be in control of our external experiences by going inside of ourselves, doing the real work, not no illusionary work, the real work, finding love in ourselves truly. And guess what's going to happen? That's going to be given birth to in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. Finding joy inside of ourselves truly. Then guess what's going to happen? That's going to be given birth to in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, or whatever we are giving birth to. Find it in ourselves first. Have it, become it, and then we attract it, because we attract to ourselves that which we are. And this is why self-care is so extremely important, because we attract to ourselves that which we are. So if you are confused in yourself, you all over the place, all imbalanced in your life, guess what's going to happen? Your life is going to reflect that. And so that self-care component puts us back in the driver's seat. It puts us in a place where we can't blame no one else for the life that we live in. It puts us into being the masters of our life and the controllers of our destiny. Controlling what our experiences are going to be here, because we understand if I take this action, then this reaction is going to happen because I took that action. So this is how you stay in control of your experiences, by the actions that you take, by the thoughts that you think, through the way that you feel inside of yourself. That energy that you are putting out into the universe is going to find its way back to you, because this is what is happening in life, is that people's energy is finding its way back to them. And once we know that within self-care, then we can master our realities by being in control of ourselves, by being in control of what we think, by being in control of how we feel, how we speak, being in control of that. And then we can create these beautiful experiences that we can create. Like, we don't supposed to be out here suffering. Suffering comes from a lack of knowledge of yourself. That's where that comes from. But we see people suffering everywhere from a lack of knowledge of themselves, of no self-care in their life, or not really understanding what self-care is, because you get a haircut or, you know, a pedicure or something. That's not what the foundation of self-care is. Self-care is entering that darkness inside of yourself, those things about ourselves that we really don't like about ourselves, facing our own inner demons, really overcoming traumas in our life, those things that plague us in our life, those things that prevent us from being happy, those things that prevent us from being happy. Like, we don't never really face those things in our life, so we can continue to produce things that bring us unhappiness in our life, or waiting for someone to bring us happiness, or waiting for someone to bring us something. No one is going to bring you anything. We have to find that inside of ourselves. And the beautiful thing is that it's there. And this is why self-care is so beautiful, because through self-care, we find out that this beauty is inside of us. And we're able to face those things that most people run from their whole lives, never finding any peace in their lives, or any real happiness or power in their life, or control in their life, because they're running from themselves. But self-care forces you to face yourself and deal with those things and conquer those things and become who you are truly, beyond an illusion of what you tell yourself that you are. But you telling yourself that you are something, but you haven't did the work to become what you are even trying to convince yourself that you are. Because if you are who you say you are, it's going to be evident in your life. The work is going to be evident. The power is going to be evident in your life. So self-care is about reclaiming your power, reclaiming control of your life. Tanya,
You said something that I learned, and I can attest to, and I see it over and over again with people who are seeking. And I know that there are many of us who have come into this collective, seeking. And it's okay to seek. That's where it begins, but it is the work.
Yes, the work.
So tell us about the work.
Yes.
That we need to do, just briefly. What does that look like? Like on a daily basis, what does that work look like?
Okay, on a daily basis, one of the first things that we do when we open our eyes is honor spirit. Honor spirit, because we know that it's a spiritual, it's a spirit, it's an energy here within this universe that gives everything here is life. Like, how can we ignore that or be blind to that? It's a spirit here of life, and we all sharing this life. So one of the first things that we need to do is to honor that spirit, and the fact that this spirit is still residing in this temple, whatever way that looks like for you. But we have to honor that, because in the blink of an eye, that spirit can leave this temple. But when you are honoring the spirit, and you are letting the spirit know you are grateful for your life, and you are living a life in reverence to that knowledge that you have of yourself, then spirit will want to remain there. Like spirit will show up for you when you acknowledge spirit and the part that it plays in our life. And so that's one of the first things that we should always do, no matter what that looks like for you. And then it's simple, like for me, and just honor this earth, honor this universe, honor the great mother that we know sustains our life, that allows us to exist. Like she's the foundation. We step out on her every day. Like, honor her and all that she do for us. Like, if it wasn't for the great mother, how could we survive? Because she provides all the nourishment that we need. She provides all the food that we eat. She provides the water that we drink. She provides the fresh air that we breathe in. And the reason why these things are key or important, because we know that these things are what our life is. Like, we know we are this earth. Like, we know we can't live without fresh air. We know we can't live without water to drink. Who supplies this for us? The great mother does. So how are we not going to acknowledge the great mother and all that she does for us? How are we not going to acknowledge that? How are we not going to acknowledge the elements? How are we not going to acknowledge the fresh air, the water, all of those things that I just ran down? How are we not going to acknowledge the sun that shines this warm light, and then everything lives there? The food that we need lives and thrives. Like, these are the first steps that we have to take. And this is what we understand within the self-care portion of the etheric touch, when we truly understand who it is that we are, because we are perishing because we don't understand. And so we have to wake up each day with that understanding. I am this universe. I am this earth. I am one with this. I am in harmony with this. And then you live your life as a reflection of you having that understanding. And this is
Yeah.
where your healing is going to come from, Miss Tanya.
Yes.
It's through
So,
that connection.
and just to give it examples of what that looks like, and we can see this every day, over this past year and a half, what I call the great pause.
The great
Okay,
part.
the great pause. And if you were listening and being connected, all right, all of the things that were going on in the outside, as stressful as it was,
Yes.
okay, on the inside, I've been able to find a different
A
kind of
peace.
peace,
Yes.
a different kind of
Yes.
peace. And the
Yes.
great pause allowed, like mother, the great mother reared her head.
Yes.
Okay. The universe said, stop making an abomination, okay, of nature. You
Yes.
talk about the waters, in Michigan, all right,
Yes.
where a man has deliberately poisoned the water, and that
Deliberately.
water has poisoned people, and
Yes.
as a result of that, it killed people. Okay, all of
Yes.
those signs are happening, and we are ignoring those signs.
Yes.
And when we begin to make that shift to honor the earth,
Yes.
okay,
Which is
honor
honoring yourself.
great spirit,
Yes.
okay, honor. Ocean Tola says, honor the great spirit, the great mother, the mother earth, and
Yes.
honor the father son.
Yes.
Right? It's when we begin to do that, and we know in the collective that there's a major planetary shift, all
Yes.
right, that is now focused on that.
Yes.
And if we watch, and I didn't mean to take up this much time for you, but this has just
No,
come.
I'm good.
If we watch the battles that we are fighting right now, is like man trying to tell us what it is
Exactly.
that we need to do, when
Exactly.
we know that the answer, we're back to being unable to find the answer
Yes.
that we seek in other people, when the answer is with
It's
ourselves.
with ourselves. And we will never find the answer like anywhere else. Like the truth is not out there. The truth is in here. In other words, the truth of who we are is in here. We are all the temple of God, the temple of the Creator. Like this is who we are. And so once we identify ourselves as that, and we truly understand that's who we are, then we can begin to live our life in that type of spiritual, godly way.
Yeah.
But first we have to identify ourselves as being that. And like I said, like most people don't have that awareness of themselves. Most people have been convinced that there are so many other things, that they are this, they are that, but who is identifying themselves as the temple of the spirit of life? And
Mm,
once you identify yourself from that place, that changes things. That
yes.
changes things. Now you're able to open your eyes, and when you look out into this world, like all you are seeing are extensions and reflections of yourself, because we are all sharing in that same spirit. That
Mhm.
same spirit is having all of these different experiences. It's the one spirit that's having all of these different experiences. So that's a connection that people should have when we're able to identify ourselves as those spiritual beings as having these human experiences, but spirit
Yeah.
first. And so I'm able to connect with you because I know at a certain level of depth we are one. We are one. We are different expressions of each other. And so the deeper that we understand each other, the more connected we become. But most people understand themselves at a very shallow level. They don't
Yes.
understand themselves from a deep enough space or place in themselves to make that connection with humanity and this, this universe in the way that we should be. Because the connection is too shallow. The
We
understanding is too shallow.
Yes, we have been bamboozled. We
Yeah.
have been duped
Yes.
into seeking the truth from someone else.
Yes.
Okay, from someone else, from some other man, you
Yes.
know, from some
Yes.
other man when it is with us,
Yes.
and when we are true to ourselves, that's when we're true to ourselves, we're able to get to the truth
There
of
you go.
ourselves,
There you go. There you go.
of
There you go.
ourselves.
That's perfectly said.
And those who have come before us,
Yes.
those who have come before us. So I transitioned to that in order to ask, so we seek ourselves, okay? We begin that self-love journey for ourselves. And then we begin to discover those additional resources or
Mm-hmm.
connections that we can make from our ancestral roots.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
share with us um, how it is that there is that connection for
Yes.
us?
Yes. 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 And this is really something that we learn in the self-care portion of Etheric Touch as well, because how can we go on a journey of knowing who it is that we are if that journey doesn't lead to understanding who our ancestors are? Because we all know that, we all are, you know what I mean, the genes and the genetics that we share in our body right now was passed down to us from those that were before us in this moment. Like, how can we really appreciate our life and know who we are if that doesn't incorporate the ancestors? When we know and we can see the genealogy that we came from, like the path that led to us being here, the people that we came from, the people that had to exist for us to have our life in this moment. Like, if we're truly honoring who it is that we are, how can we honor who it is that we are without honoring those that have come before us, that have given us life here, that we are an extension of their life, that their genetics live inside of our body right now? Science say that we are 7 generations back of genetics from our father's side and 7 generations back of genetics from our mother's side live within our body right now. So we are our ancestors. We are those that have come before us. How can we not acknowledge that? So that's acknowledging them for our very existence on this earth. Because if they didn't exist, how could we exist? So how can we not honor that? How can we not elevate that? How can we not, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Just honor that. Like, how can we not honor that?
Acknowledge,
Would you say, yeah,
acknowledge.
acknowledge? How can we not acknowledge that? And we are here in this moment. Like, we didn't just come out of nowhere. We come as an extension of someone of people that was here before we were here, and we are an extension of them. And so we have to honor that which we come from.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
once we understand ourselves from that level, you know what I mean, of ancestral acknowledgement and uplifting your ancestors, like, this is what taps us into things about ourselves that we might not know. It taps us into healing in our life that we don't even know the source of, like, where the problem came from.
Mm,
Like, we don't, a lot of times people don't understand who it is that they are in this moment because they don't understand where they came from.
yeah.
So by when you go on that journey of understanding where you came from, it puts you in a better position to heal in the ways that we need to heal in this moment right now, because certain things pass down through genetics, certain behaviors pass down through genetics. So when you're able to look back in your family and you can see a certain thing being passed down from generation to generation that has brought harm to the family, or more harm than good in the family, somebody has to break that. Somebody has to break that cycle within the family. But who is going to do it if you're not even aware of the fact that this cycle has to be broken? And
Yeah.
what was you about to say? Okay, go ahead, Tanya.
Yes, yes. So um, Karasi said we are continuing what they were not able
We are
to
continuing.
complete.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And part of the great lie that we've been told from the moment that we were stolen,
Yes.
from our ancestral home, was to forget about it.
Yes.
Okay, forget about it. I mean, endured beatings.
It's not
Okay,
important, right?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's and that continues in so many different ways. It continues with the great lies that exclude us and
Yeah.
our ancestors, from history, or
Yes.
who attempts to.
Yes.
um,
And you can see what kind of impact that has had in our life, because us as a people, we were like, our history was cut off from us, but
yes,
everybody else was able to acknowledge their ancestors and uplift their ancestors. This is what we had to do, even for their ancestors in school, when we honored other people that was not of our ethnicity, that we had to honor each day within school, like the honoring of the ancestors, that which come before you. Because when we understand our heritage and that which we have came from, that puts us in a place of understanding the great things that we can do in this moment, when we can look back and see the great things that our ancestors did, because our ancestors was not just slaves. We're talking
yes,
about civilization builders, pyramid builders, people that have accomplished some of the greatest things and wonders on earth. And so
exactly.
when we know that's in our blood and we know that's in our genetics, when we hear of the greatness of that which we come from, that will inspire us for greatness as well. It inspires us to accomplish as well, to be great as well. And this is why
Mhm.
ancestor stories are always told within different cultures, because they are trying to inspire the youth, the greatness, and show the youth the greatness that's inside of them. And so this is how we learn about the greatness that's inside of us, by understanding our ancestry and the great things that our people have done and accomplished before we were here. And so we can continue that legacy of greatness and of wisdom and of power that our history shows that we come from. And this
Mhm.
is why it's important, and this is why you see that within every race on the planet, they're going to acknowledge their ancestors and elevate their ancestors because of that, because they're trying to
Mhm.
inspire their children to take it to even greater heights in the future. And so this is
Mhm.
what we need, and this is why this is important for ourselves, to understand what we are capable of from what we have already done.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Our history cannot be relegated to 1 month.
No, not no 1 month. You know what I mean? Which
Cannot
they
be
try to do.
relegated.
Yes, and which we'll settle for that if we don't know any better. And this is why, like, we say, like, the knowledge itself is key. Um, Man, know thyself, and then you shall know God in the universe.
Hmm.
So this is why it's key to know ourselves, because if you don't know yourself, then it's easier for you to become some form of an illusion. And this is what
Mhm.
we see in life, is that people are caught up in illusions of who it is that they think they are, whether it's through the music or whether it's through the television shows, or just, like, people are being put in illusions about who it is that they are being told who it is that they are, but not really knowing who it is that they are. And this is the first thing that has to be remedied, is a knowledge itself. And this is what comes through the self-care portion of etheric touch.
I just got this thought. The world is full of masters of confusion and
Yeah.
illusion.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, taught from the very beginning, taught from the very beginning. And because we don't understand, and because we have been ripped away from the stories.
Yes.
Okay, we are embarrassed. Even we are even embarrassed to call upon our ancestors. We've been taught to be afraid. That is
Yes.
some kind
It's
of
spooky or
evil.
something. Yeah, it's wrong. It's spooky.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. This
And
is
the
how it's
fact
being
that they
conveyed.
and the fact that they assist us now, it's like, oh my God, don't tell anyone that. What?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And like you
Exactly.
say, go ahead, Miss Tanya.
So much so that we need you, Okay. And we need all of us to share the lessons that we learn
Yes.
so that our children and so that,
Yes.
others can understand and take
Yes.
the blinders, from their
And
eyes.
reconnect. And Miss Tanya, like when we are able to look at this from that place that we should be looking at it from as nature, we
Mm,
know that it's the root system. It's the root system that nourishes us. And this is what our history is. Our history is our roots. That's why they identify the roots of a people. It's our literal root system that when we are connected to our roots, we're able to be nourished in the way that we're supposed to be getting nourished. And when they took us away from our history, when we got taken away from our history and our culture, what literally happened is that we got uprooted. And so that's why it's been withering and dying away of our people because of that lack of connection to our roots. And what else are you going to do but wither and die if you're not connected to your roots, which is our ancestry, which is our history? And so when we connect back to that, when we connect back to that root system that runs deep all the way to the beginning of time, is how deep this root system runs. And we're able to draw up all of that nourishment into our being right now. What else are we going to be but strong? What else are we going to be but bountiful? You know what I mean? But as long as we stay disconnected by being tricked to stay disconnected, while other people and other cultures, that's the foundation of their culture, is ancestor veneration and worship. And every other culture, they're being nourished with the history of those that came from before them, of
mm-hmm.
what they can do and what they can accomplish. But we are not. But we are not. And so this is why it's important for us as the people to make that connection so we can draw from that source that we need to be drawing from, that will empower us and strengthen us. Like this is the way of nature. We have to be connected to the root system, which is our
Mm-hmm.
history and culture. It's simple. And so this is how we grow up into who it is we truly are versus being changed into somebody else. Because right now you see a people that's trying to live like another people. Because all we have been learning is another people. We haven't been learning about our people. So we have been connected to a different root system that's producing them versus us, which is
Exactly.
in their benefit. So we have to make that connection and acknowledge the greatness of our heritage, of our roots, of where it is that we come from. And so this is why it's important.
And
This is
and
the way of
and
nature.
what has happened is that we have been taught to hate ourselves.
Yes.
We have been taught to hate ourselves, and practically every single thing that you see on, all of the different broadcasting medium, okay, all of
Yes.
that is something that perpetuates the lie.
Yes.
It
Yes.
perpetuates the lie. It just focuses not on being able to connect with the root system that will connect you with what you
Provide the
need.
nourishment that we
Nourish.
need.
Exactly.
Yes.
Nourishment.
The
Said it
nourishment that we need.
at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, because
Understanding synchronicities,
yes.
understanding all of those things in nature, okay,
Yes.
that have guided our people here,
Yes.
all right, to a point where I can't tell you, if you just if you just search down in on the site, okay, people must have said 50 times, I am seeking, I am seeking, I
Yes.
am seeking, I am seeking. And that
Yes.
has just jumped off at me from the pages. What is it that you're seeking?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because what you're telling us, it's here.
It's inside of you. It's inside of you. Yes. And this is what, like, and this is something that is never gonna change. Like we have everything that we need inside of ourselves. Like we are the universe walking around on 2 feet. It's nothing for you to find out there. Like we are the source of it all. Like anything that you think is out there, it's out there because it's first inside of here.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all things, and this is the level of identification that we have to identify ourselves from. We are all things. We are literally the universe walking around on 2 feet. This is why they can find in the body everything that's out there. Everything that's out there, they can find it within the body, because we are everything that's out there. We are everything that's out there walking around on this planet right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so the answer is always inside of us. Now, the universe or the great spirit can maybe get your attention with something out there to turn you back to inside of you, to where the source of that thing out there comes from. That's the only thing that can happen. And so once we understand that, then we can move in the right direction. Stop seeking things outside of yourself that you haven't found inside of yourself first. Stop seeking happiness out there if you know you don't got it inside of yourself, because that's going to be a never-ending journey. You're never going to find it.
Mm.
It's always going to be in front of you. It's always going to be running away from you, from the very fact that you are seeking it. But when we're able to be still, then we can find it inside of ourselves. When we're able to be quiet, then we can find that thing inside of ourselves. And this is why the society is set up to keep people on the move, because they don't want people to have that quiet time alone, because now you get ready to be tapping into some shit tapping into something that they don't want you to tap into, or finding things that they don't want you to find.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to be still and go inside of the source of all things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been absolutely amazing. Yes, we are the priceless treasures are
Yes,
within us.
yes,
So, and it's okay to speak freely, because guess what? We're in the Enchanted Life
yes,
Broadcasting Communications Network. So we can
yes.
say what it is.
Okay,
It's beyond
okay.
the talk.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay, okay, okay. I didn't,
It
just
be
trying to give
real.
respect to your
All
platform,
right.
to the
I
platform.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Sometimes you need a little emphasis on stuff.
yes. To really get the point across.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to let the audience here, and as we share this out, that the Enchanted Life Healing System is right here to guide you.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
you can, oh, I think I spelled it wrong. Go to enchantedlifellc.com. All right. And if I'm wrong about that, somebody put it in the chat. You always got to watch me. Enchantedlifellc.com, where you have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Enchanted Life Healing System, learn a
Yes.
little bit more about our beloved conjurer. And thank you, Osun. Okay, here it is, enchantedlifellc.com. If you are looking for a way to find your way back to
Yes.
yourself, some
Yes.
guidance in that,
Yes.
that is the place to be.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, Brother
Thank you.
Conjure,
Thank
beloved,
you.
beloved. I
Thank
want
you.
to thank our audience as well. Like I said, this is the first episode of Enchanted Expressions Beyond the Conversation. And our next guest on
Oshuntola.
the 28th is going
That's
to be, tell us,
Oshuntola.
Conjure,
Oh, Oshuntola, my wife. Like
Ocean
she,
Tola.
that's the one I'm excited about. It's when she come through.
Yes.
She's gonna be able to give it up in a way that I can't. So
Because you're a compliment to each
yes,
other.
yes, like yes, exactly. So she's gonna bring her whole. other
Yes.
vibe with it.
And it continues as we will continue to bring you our special queens and kings from our collective
Yeah,
to
man, there's so
share with
many.
you to
Yeah,
share with you what it is that we have found to offer and to answer questions that you might have. If you have a question, you can go ahead and drop it in the comments. All right. Our communications team
yeah.
will go through and we'll be glad to get back to you with some additional information. This has been a wonderful experience.
I
Yes,
thank you. I
it
thank
was
you too.
enlightening, insightful, and amazing. And you are certainly loved with every fiber of
I feel it.
Karasi being and
I feel it
everyone
too. I
else.
feel it. I feel it.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
I
So
love
we
her.
wish you love and
Thank you.
peace.
I wish it
All
like to
right.
you.
Okay. Good night, everyone. Until
Good
next
night.
time. Bye
Peace.
bye. Peace.